It's Suns Jazz on Halloween, and I'll be honest, a pretty brutal pregame show to do solo. Psychos and Sickos unite for a happy Halloween edition of the HNX Suns, coming to you live from the Banana Corner, and of course brought to you by Gila River Resorts and Casinos. You do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playatgila.com for more details. I am your banana man for the evening. My name is Erik Ruby. I'll be joined by Espo in the post-game show. Steven will be calling in from the morgue, which is aptly named tonight as the Suns take on the Jazz on Halloween in the first NBA Cup game of the season. I don't know if y'all have seen the court, but my Lord, it looks nice. Take a look at the perfect Halloween court that the Suns will be playing on tonight. That orange with the black. We've seen some pictures and some video of it, of some of the people already there in the stadium. I feel like it's not too orange, and I love the Suns logo in it as well. And look, I'm an NBA Cup guy. I don't know if I'm as big of an NBA Cup guy as like its staunch defenders, but I definitely am one that likes the feeling of it. I enjoy the fact that, you know, we kind of can get up for something a little bit more. Point differential matters. We just saw I don't know how the game's going now, but the Celtics and the Sixers, the Celtics are up by like 40. Right. And then, or 20, not 40. And then the Sixers were able to storm back, and that's a good game right now. I like the NBA Cup. How do you guys feel about the NBA Cup? Emily says, just checking into this pod. Dude, you look effing hilarious. I can say fucking. You look fucking hilarious as a banana. What the hell? I mean, am I supposed to look serious as a banana? I guess that's kind of the question, right? Am I supposed to like look serious right now? Because I am serious. This is a serious show, mind you. And it is spooky season, unfortunately, when you look at the Phoenix Suns injury report. And of course, as always, the injury report is brought to you by the Husband and Wife Law Team. If you've had a serious injury, call the Husband and Wife Law Team first at 602-783-8841 or visit their website at husbandandwifelawteam.com. Look, Jalen Green and Dillon Brooks are still out. We'll hear from Jordan Ott here in a second. Jalen Green still dealing with that right hamstring strain. Dillon Brooks out, but if you notice, the injury designation is a core muscle strain. He had been out with groin soreness. Now that is upgraded to a core muscle strain. Now, Coach Ott did say it is the same injury. It's not a new injury that he sustained, but anytime you go from soreness to a strain is never really a good sign. We did hear, though, from Coach Ott about updates on Jalen Green and Dillon Brooks, as Brooks has now missed his third game in a row and Jalen Green has yet to play this season.
So I think it's still the same thing. It's continued to evaluate them day by day. We haven't had a ton of 5-on-5 because of our schedule. You know, yesterday, the day in between, more just film and walk through, and they've been able to partake in all that. Again, having Jalen there, and Dillon obviously has a great voice and a great spot on our team as a leader. So as we work through some of this new stuff, especially defensively, you can hear his voice. So definitely still stay engaged, both of them. And I would continue to say the same thing. They're just day by day. Hopefully, you know, they're out there on the court very soon.
Hopefully they're out there on the court very soon. I feel like we've heard that messaging about Jalen Green for a while now. I'm going to be honest with you. The Jalen Green stuff, if he doesn't play in this homestand, is when my worry meter is going to start to creep up. Obviously, they play San Antonio at home on Sunday. It'd be pretty tough to get your first NBA action of the season against Wemby. We got Khaman Maluach back in the chat. What's up, Khaman Maluach? Definitely need you. But this team needs Jalen Green. Mike, we'll get to your super chat in a second, but first we'll hear from Coach Ott about Jalen Green's impact for the Suns.
I think you can see him in games, how engaged he is and how much he wants to be out there. It's the same in practice, and it's hard. It's hard to stay involved when you're not taking the practice reps. And he's been great the entire time. So he's getting in here and there, and I think that has really helped him as he's progressed here. And then we know when he gets into live action that hopefully his just involvement overall can be sped up because of the reps he's been able to take, even though he hasn't played in the game. So he's a 23-year-old, high energy, great spirited, high character young man. And we can feel that even though he's not, out there on the court playing.
Been saying this for a while now, but this team certainly needs Jalen Green. Now, I spent a lot of the time in the offseason talking about that he is an imperfect player, which is true. He is an imperfect player, but the way that he plays, the gravity that he will demand will help out not only this team as a whole, but Devin Booker. And that leads us to Mike from Mesa's super chat. Mike from Mesa, thank you so much. $4.99 super chat. Says, last 2 games, Book has bolted to the locker room without shaking any hands. Something's up. Body language isn't good. I will say Devin Booker also did not speak to the media after the loss to the Memphis Grizzlies that the Suns sustained 2 nights ago. That's a funny joke, Deborah. That's a funny joke. I get why some people would be somewhat concerned. That being said, I think everybody has to understand that Devin Booker is a human being with emotions, and on a human level, I mean, this team has now lost 4 in a row. He's not going to be happy about it. We all know that Book hasn't been playing as good as he could be. Now, is he still sleepwalking into 30 and 10? Yes. But he's mad. He's mad. He knows he's not playing his best basketball. He had a terrible first half last game. He got in his bag in the second half, but then he missed 2 shots at the end for the Suns to lose. If you were Devin Booker in this situation where you know that this team is supposed to be better than people expect, and so far you've been about just as good, if not worse, record-wise, and Memphis was the best game comprehensively this team put together all season, even though it ended in a loss, and Devin Booker's not happy that they're losing. I think that's a good thing. I don't want Devin Booker to be look, I know we always bring these guys up, and it gets to a point where it's you just got to stop. But Bradley Beal was out there smiling and chumming it up and laughing and all of that in losses when teams were cooking him, when another team hit a 3, right? There's a line where you don't want Devin Booker to be mad to the point that he requests a trade or gets mad about Phoenix. But I think Book knows what he signed up for. I mean, hell, I would hope so, right? I mean, you just signed the largest annual average value contract extension in NBA history. You know that this team just traded away Kevin Durant, just lost Bradley Beal, has basically turned over half the roster as a rookie head coach and a bunch of other young guys. You've been missing 2 of your 3 best players for a majority of the season and your second best player for the entire season. I think he's allowed to be upset. Now, maybe people want to play body language doctor. I'm not as much on that 5 games into the season. I think if everybody's back and healthy and the Suns are still losing and Book starts shaking his head and getting upset and all of that, it's okay, we can start talking about what's going on. But, these guys are competitors. Athletes are competitors. Athletes are going to be upset when they lose games. And another part of it was, Utah on Monday, overtime game. Suns storm back after a terrible start. They lose that game in OT. That's brutal. Then Memphis, they play well basically the whole game. They fall down about 9-10 points late. They storm back because Book goes crazy in the second half. Book misses 2 shots to win, and that's it. Mike from Mesa with another super chat. Thank you, Mike. Says, no excuse for poor sportsmanship. Sure. I mean, I'd like him to shake hands. If that's a theme that happens all season, then I agree with you. I'm just trying to, say, if you're coming at it from a he should have done this perspective, I agree with you. I think some people will come at it as he wants to leave and the body language is bad and poor, and that means that Devin Booker is going to request a trade. And that's where I think that line needs to be drawn a little bit, because I would not go there right now. In fact, I'm not worried about going there this season. But I do understand why Book is going to be under a microscope when he plays. I feel like nobody has been really fully either satisfied or out on Devin Booker. Feels like nobody's in that middle ground. Everybody's either he's trash or, he's still good. There's a middle ground here with Book, and hopefully he can find it tonight against the Jazz. He, of course, is the Suns' best player, but we've seen a lot of guys step up recently over the last couple of games. But obviously, none of them are putting on the performances that we've seen from a guy like Lauri Markkanen when he dropped 51 on the Suns' head on Monday. Coach Ott talked about how the Suns are going to try to contain the one-time All-Star in pregame today.
You know, going from Denver, who might be the best off-ball screening team, from Golden State, and then this is just a different test because of how they use Markkanen. They do more flares. I think Denver was more back screen, slip into the rim with the 5-man handling. This is a little bit different with the 5-man up top a lot, off-ball screening, and then Markkanen's size. So you chase the flare, he goes right to the front of the rim. He's 7 feet tall. They'll move him to a corner. You get on the top side of him, they'll throw it right to the side, the corner of the backboard. So I think it's just a different angle every single time with these guys. They hit the 5, Markkanen becomes a screener. And are we going to switch? Are we going to not? I think some of those things we've stayed pretty consistent with of how we're guarding. The one that Markkanen really hurt us with was on the ball, And again, he's 7 feet tall. They do a great job putting him in a spot that it makes it hard to switch. And if you do switch, they have a counter to it. So hopefully will be better here in this first half tonight. But we're definitely on the lookout, especially where they're moving Markkanen. 51 points. 17 of those came from the free throw line. We cleared some of those up. We'll show a couple different bodies at him tonight. But yes, keep him off the free throw line, keep him off the three-point line, and hopefully have some size on him at the rim. Tough to cover, but I think you'll see some different coverages with him tonight.
Somebody in the chat said it's nice. Oh, it's you, Ayrton. Says having a coach that knows ball is sick. One of the coolest things that I think about tonight and the opportunity you present yourself is not just that you played this team recently on Monday, but it's the first time that you're facing an opponent for the second time in Jordan Ott's career, which means you saw the looks, you saw the guys and how they ran. I mean, he just talked about how they used Lauri Markkanen. And look, man, he dropped 50 on your head. He dropped 50. Now, Mark Williams will be starting tonight along with Royce O'Neal, Ryan Dunn, Grayson Allen, and Devin Booker. So the same starting 5 against Memphis. And, of course, Royce O'Neal continuing to get the start like he did when Dillon Brooks was initially out against Utah on Monday. But to now have kind of a counter as far as size goes, he mentioned having size at the rim, but also in a sense of you have had a week to game plan and prepare for this opponent. Jalen Green and Dillon Brooks were out in that game, so you were running with the same personnel. Offensively and defensively, what have you adjusted? What have you changed? And you are going to hopefully see a tangible difference playing at home and seeing these adjustments from Jordan Ott. Remember, the Suns barely lost that game on Monday without the Jazz, or against the Jazz. Barely lost on the road after a poor start. If they can start this game like they did against Memphis and then continue to give that effort and maybe limit Lauri to 30 points, which is still a good night for Lauri Markkanen, I mean, that's the recipe for success for the Suns here tonight. And before we get into Steven's keys, I do want to get into something that we missed on our last post-game show. We were just talking about Devin Booker, and I do want to get into our Love the Play segment presented by Arizona Lottery. It's time to love the play, brought to you by our friends at Arizona Lottery. Play and gift today. My favorite play from last game was the buzzer beater that Book hit at the end of the third quarter. Sorry, my bad. The buzzer beater that Book hit at the end of the third quarter. That was nice, smooth, and slow. Hopefully, Devin Booker can continue to be in that groove that he was in the second half and start off strong and start off hot tonight. That is Heel Gang says, as soon as I tap in, I see you dressed as a banana. Well, what do you expect? I'm just being a banana, man. But let's peel back the layers, take a look at what Steven thinks are the keys to tonight's game. Of course, Steven is out at the arena for every single game. You can follow him at StevenPG3. We'll talk to him post-game. Hopefully the arena doesn't collapse on top of him. Key number 1, he says pace. I'll add another pace in there, especially against a team like the Jazz. The Jazz are going to be starting 3 7-footers in Filipowski, Markkanen, and Kessler. Now, that presents a unique challenge on the boards and in the paint for the Suns, but because the Suns are playing small, because the Suns still have, youth and athleticism, being able to put some pressure on the Utah Jazz is going to be one of the keys for them. But pace, but in my way of saying, don't give up a lot of fast break points and stupid fouls on the fast break as well, like you did against the Grizzlies, and capitalize on the fast break. I think Royce has been really good as a trailer in the fast break shooting threes. Ryan Dunn is still really athletic and able to leak out there on transition plays. And at the same time, Mark Williams is also somebody, if you watch him, he's always moving, and him continuing to run the court puts a lot of pressure on those slower 7-footers that you have. Key number 2 from Steven is no clean catches for Markkanen. You just heard Jordan Ott talk about how they get Markkanen the ball and how they're going to throw a couple different guys at him. If Walker Kessler and Kyle Filipowski beat you, then Walker Kessler and Kyle Filipowski beat you. If Lauri Markkanen gets in a groove and puts up 30 to 40 to 50 points, you're not winning this game unless Devin Booker goes nuclear as well. And while he's had a good season, he scored 30 in a majority of his games, we haven't seen him get to that point. And it's hard for a guy like Book to get to that point when Jalen Green isn't on the court. And hell, Dillon Brooks, who's leading the Suns in shot attempts so far this year, aren't on the court because everybody gives all the attention to Devin Booker. Key number 3 is paint touches. I think Mark Williams starting off the game, and especially paint touches early, that's going to be a big indicator for the Suns being able to ease into the game like they did against the Grizzlies. Just get in there nice and slow, get some paint touches, especially give it to Mark Williams. We've seen Ryan Dunn make a couple of good cuts and attack the paint. It'll be interesting to see if Grayson Allen can continue to put pressure on the rim as well. I do want to talk a little bit about Grayson Allen because there was some conversation on Suns Twitter that people think that Colin Gillespie should be starting and Grayson Allen should come off the bench. Not necessarily because Grayson Allen has been awful, because actually I don't think Grayson Allen's been awful at all. I think he's been good this season. But because Colin Gillespie has had a hell of a 2 games, right? He's been really good off the bench, shooting the ball from deep, distributing, being active, being a defensive pest. And while that would be nice to have in the starting lineup, and I think it would help, and it would kind of help get a little bit of pressure off of Book because he is a better and more confident ball handler than Grayson Allen, I think that keeping him off the bench is still the perfect role for him. And of course, the role that he's going to fit in the most when this team is fully healthy. Grayson Allen is a little bit easier to plug and play in there, is also a little bit taller than Colin Gillespie. And when you're starting Ryan Dunn and Royce O'Neal as your 3 and your 4, and I believe the tallest guy there is 6'6", 6'7", Ryan Dunn, who's a good rebounder, but still, going to a 6'1" point guard. And then as far as your creation off of the bench, your primary ball handler would be a Grayson Allen. Maybe the Colin Gillespie starting move is something if Jared Butler is still on the roster and you do have somebody to hold the ball and dribble and initiate plays off the bench, but you don't. You have Jordan Goodwin, who I'm actually surprised hasn't really gotten a look. So I'm fine with Colin continuing to come off the bench. I'm fine with Grayson Allen continuing to start because I really like the fact that Colin is getting comfortable in his role, finding his spots offensively, not just from a scoring perspective, but also from a playmaking perspective, and then from a defensive perspective as well. Hidden Sun Village, thanks for being here, says, hey, Eric, don't start dancing. You might turn into a banana shake. That's a good one. Sean says, are you cramping, Eric, and you're dressing up as what you eat on the sideline for pickup basketball? I am a notorious cramper, but not really when I'm playing pickup basketball. I'll get those brutal calf cramps in like the middle of the night, and I have to like fling the covers off and get out of bed, and my wife's like, what the hell are you doing? Like, I'm cramping. So I don't have a banana next to bed. It is peanut butter jelly time. And Khaman Maluach is just in the chat saying we do not want Oso Ighodaro to play. Against this Utah Jazz team specifically, I think the center rotation is going to be fascinating. Now, if you watched our previous post-game show between me and Espo, we definitely disagree on the handling of the rookies so far. And I do want, that's a good joke, hello. I'll acknowledge that one. I do want to say, as far as playing Khaman, it's tantalizing, right? The unknown is tantalizing. Khaman Maluach as a prospect is tantalizing. And you see these other rookies, specifically rookies in the top 10. VJ Edgecombe, another great night tonight. Dylan Harper continuing to hoop. Cooper Flagg is finding his footing. He hasn't been amazing. Jeremiah Fears has actually been pretty good in that top 10 as well. You know, you want to see Khaman Maluach, right? And I get that. And I think that him being that tall and that lanky in its own right does give him an edge over Oso Ighodaro. I'm okay with easing Khaman in just because of the history of his playing. He's 18 years old. He's barely played basketball for half of a decade now. I wouldn't be mad if they put him out there, and I actually think he could have a positive impact. But the one that I'm more looking at tonight is Rasheer Fleming, because Rasheer Fleming, body type wise, is the best matchup against Lauri Markkanen. Now, experience wise, he's certainly not. But the way that his wingspan could impact a guy like Lauri, who's 7 foot and can handle the ball and come off of screens, and the defensive instincts of Rasheer Fleming, I really think that Rasheer Fleming should get a look tonight. Now, do I think he will get a look tonight? I think that's a different conversation. If Isaiah Livers plays again and is not as impactful as he was the first time when he played the Jazz, i.e. what he did against the Memphis Grizzlies, where I don't believe he recorded a single statistic except for a 3-point attempt, at a certain point, you just got to play him. You just have to play Rasheer Fleming. And the argument of, well, they're not ready, they need to be eased into it. Look, man, Rasheer Fleming is 21 years old. Rasheer Fleming played multiple years of college basketball. Rasheer Fleming, by all measurements and metrics, was a first-round pick who slipped to the Suns at the start of the second round. And the Suns didn't just take him in the second round. The Suns traded away a majority of their future second-round assets for this guy. Now, I don't agree with people who are saying, oh, fire Jordan Ott. Jordan Ott sucks. He's a clown for not playing him. I trust Jordan Ott, and I do understand that you want to ease these rookies in. And he even said at shoot-around earlier today or yesterday that these guys are going to get their chance. But because you are not getting good play from Nigel Hayes-Davis, which pains me because I like Nigel Hayes-Davis. I believe that he could be a contributor on this team, and maybe he just needs some more time to settle in. And you are not getting a good performance from Isaiah Livers every night. In fact, you're playing your two-way guy 2 nights, 1 night, great energy, really positive impact from Isaiah Livers against Utah on Monday. And then on Wednesday, an absolute nothing. He's a two-way guy. He shouldn't be getting run over Rasheer Fleming, who you invested technically multiple second-round picks into. You traded away your first-round pick and then traded up second-round picks because you're like, we think we can get this guy in the second round, and you did. Rasheer is like 6'9", 6'10", but he has like a 7'4", 7'5" wingspan. There's not a defender with those measurements on this roster, right? You can't teach that. And one of the things, I love watching games with Ayrton because he was talking about some of Nigel Hayes-Davis's defensive tendencies, and the defensive instincts for Nigel just haven't been where they need to be on an NBA level. Ayrton would just say he has like Euro League tendencies. And again, that's something that could come with time, and I'm not fully out on Nigel Hayes-Davis. The one thing that I feel confident in stamping is that I know that Rasheer Fleming has great defensive instincts. I know you can't take away a ton from preseason basketball, but if you watch those games and you watch his flashes, his instincts are there. And if that is all that you need off the bench against a Utah Jazz team with a bunch of big forwards and big centers who are going to cook you like they cooked you on Monday without Rasheer Fleming, I say at least give him a shot. Give him 5, 10. I'll live with 10 minutes, right? I'll live with 5 because you're getting nothing. But if he's not performing, then he's not performing. Now you have tape. You're losing games anyway. And you're right, hello. We all were high on Nigel Hayes-Davis during the offseason. I think Nigel is an extremely smart player who's having some trouble adjusting to the NBA game. Of course, we know the bench has not been put in the best position considering that everybody slides up a role when you lose guys like Jalen Green, when you lose guys like Dillon Brooks. And Rao, I understand he was a second-round pick, but again, you're playing a two-way player and a guy who was in Euro League last year over him. If you had Dillon Brooks, right, and Royce O'Neal was coming off of the bench, and the backup forwards were performing well, if Nigel Hayes-Davis was performing well, then this isn't a conversation. I would say I'd like to see them, but then it doesn't really fit in. You give Rasheer some time to settle in. Look, man, this team's 1-4, and they need a guy like Rasheer Fleming. So I would love to see Rasheer Fleming play tonight. I don't know if he will, but I really want him to. And maybe that's the selfish fan side of me, but I don't care. You can call me a selfish fan. I'll be a selfish fan. Listen, I'm a selfish banana, man. Okay? I really want to see Rasheer Fleming play. But it's not just Rasheer Fleming that could be a key to the Suns winning tonight. I also want to talk about how Ryan Dunn is going to play, because realistically speaking, Ryan Dunn is going to spend a lot of time on Lauri Markkanen. I know that Jordan Ott said they're going to throw a lot of bodies at him. I know Royce O'Neal will get some time on Lauri, of course, when they're switching. Grayson Allen, Devin Booker, even Mark Williams are going to get some time on Lauri. But Ryan Dunn needs to stay out of foul trouble tonight. Ryan Dunn's worst game of the season came against these Utah Jazz on Monday. Literally, the worst game for him of the season. Every single game I bet on his PRA. That's the only one that hasn't hit. And it's not always an indicator of how good you played for Ryan Dunn if it's just the PRA, but I think even the defensive chops and instincts weren't as there against a really tough matchup in Utah. Ryan Dunn is an undersized forward to be playing the 4. I guess you could maybe say Royce is playing the 4 tonight, but Ryan Dunn is certainly undersized for what they're asking from him. He needs to stay on the court, and hopefully having Mark Williams clean some stuff up defensively in the middle allows him to feel like he doesn't have to gamble as much and commit these dumb personal fouls that sometimes he makes. Look, we know that the Suns are 1-4, and we know that the fan base is starving for a win. So, is this an SMW? Is this a Suns must win? Let's go ahead and take a look at the must-win meter that's spookified. Steven with a 3. Espo with a 10. He hits me with a 10 when he's not here. Thank you, Espo. And of course, I'm going with a 9. Now, the reason why I'm a 9, which is maybe my lowest mark of the season, is the fact that you don't have Jalen Green and Dillon Brooks still. Look, 1-5 would be brutal, but you're missing 2 of your 3 best players. Now, it's a must win for the fans, but for the team, we'll see. Sean gets it, though. Sean says SMW. Zach says Steven too chill. Brother, that is just who Steven is. Let's go ahead and take a look at the line for tonight, of course, presented by Bet365. Suns are -3 on the spread, so they are a favorite at home, and a -155 on the money line, which is a little surprising considering how Utah's been playing. Utah, a +130 on the money line, +3 on the spread. Usually for road games, this means it's about a push because the home team usually gets about 3 points. But I am surprised that Utah is not a favorite considering how the Suns have played. That's what the books say, but what do we say here on PHNX Sports and PHNX Suns? Let's get into our pre-game picks presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app, use code PHNX365 when you sign up. Deposit 5, place a bet for 10, or deposit 10, place a bet for 5 and get $200 in bonus bets. If your bet wins or loses, bonus bets can be used on spreads, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary. At Bet365, must be 21 plus and physically located in Arizona. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, text NEXT STEP to 53342, or visit problemgambling.az.gov. We don't have the standings here, but we need to get them for post-game because I've been cooking low-key. I'm beating Espo's ass so far this season. I've had multiple bets hit, so let's see what Espo picks for tonight. Espo going with a 4-leg parlay. Grayson Allen, 10-plus points. Ace Bailey, 10-plus points. Royce O'Neal, 10-plus points. And Yusuf Nurkic, 10-plus points, boosted at a plus 1,200. So a whole lot of 10-point scorers. But that's what the loser is betting. What about the winner? What am I putting my money on? I'm taking Lauri Markkanen over 34.5 PRA. If he plays even remotely close like he did on Monday, he will smash that. I'm taking Ryan Dunn over under on 6.5 assists and rebounds. So not the PRA for Ryan Dunn today, but assists and rebounds. I think he could just get that in rebounds alone. And then I got Royce O'Neal over 8.5 assists and rebounds. That's plus 525, but I get a 50% profit boost. Comes out to about 740. But we appreciate y'all tuning in here. Before we head out, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Just a reminder, we are going to be doing a post-game show. Espo will be joining me, hopefully in costume. If not, I'll feel like a lonely banana. And it'll be right here on PHNX Sports. And before we leave, let's go ahead and get into our score predictions for the night. Will the Suns win? Espo says yes. 120-109. The Phoenix Suns pull off a much-needed victory. Steven and I not as confident. Steven, 127-114 for the Jazz. I'm 120-118. I'm low-key trying to do like just a little bit of a reverse jinx. And I guess it doesn't count if I like say it out loud, so I guess that's on me. But I've predicted a win quite a bit this season. So hopefully they prove me wrong. Hopefully they prove Steven wrong. Sports Hero says, hit that like button if you like Erik's costume. I hit that like button because I like my costume. Meatloaf says, this game will be bananas. And Hidden Sun Village says, if Espo dresses as a Cookie Monster, that would make my day. Well, guess what? You all made my day for joining me on Halloween. You could be doing anything else, but you're here with me, the Banana Man, at my home studio. We will be back for a post-game show. Me, Espo, and Steven calling in from the arena all right here. So make sure you tune in at PHNX_Suns on Twitter during the game as we live tweet everything during it to keep you up to date. And I'm looking forward to seeing all of you for hopefully what will not be a spooky, scary post-game show. We'll talk to you all very, very soon.
all silly like the mayor.